Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to KB's Small Engine Repair. If you're new to the channel here, welcome, and think about subscribing and hitting that thumbs up button for me. If you're returning, welcome back, and as you saw in the title, we're going to be discussing tools, which, as you know, is familiar and something that I enjoy talking about, something that I enjoy using, and is a hobby for me, and is something we all use in this business. So as you saw in the title, 10 tools that you don't necessarily need, but will help your job be more efficient, will help you from breaking things, will just all around be more useful in our line of work. So let's get right into it. All right guys, so here we are. I went through my box and I looked at some of my tools that now I've gotten to the point that I use nearly daily. Just starting out, let's be real. In small engine repair, you can get by pretty much by using, a handful of wrenches, handful of sockets, some screwdrivers. Will we be efficient? Will we be able to do everything that we do? Probably not. But you could probably get by, and especially just starting out, you don't need a whole lot. So these are things that I've collected over the years, things that I've saw and said, hey, that would be handy, or, oh man, that would really help me out, that would be quicker, shoot, that would save me from breaking this. So these are things that I've collected, and I've gone through my toolbox, picked some of them out, and now I'm going to share with you. So first off the bat, I've got a couple Crescent wrenches. I say that literally because these are the Crescent brand. They're mini adjustable wrenches. And these have come in handy quite a few times. You don't want to pull your big ones out. I've pulled my big ones out before, and when you get them down that small, when you're working on a tiny little bolt, they just slip off, they don't grab. It's awkward having a big handle on there. And so these little buggers have come in handy several times. I keep them on my pegboard because I do use them so often, and especially in small engine work, we do deal with a lot of bolts and nuts and stuff that are that small. It's just easier to grab one of these versus, a bigger adjustable wrench that just doesn't quite work out as well. These are fairly cheap, relatively cheap, so I've got a couple of them. A couple different styles that I've just picked up over the years, and they work out really well for me. So again, not something you're going to use every day, not something you need to run out and buy right away. But I think the first one I got was like, wow, that's kind of cool. It's kind of one of those novelty deals, and I found out I used it quite a bit, and it's worked out really well for me. Second up, I actually use these quite a bit. They are what they call a Wobble Extension. This is a Snap-on brand. I'm pretty sure they call them that everywhere, but it is a Wobble Extension. If you can see that up top, what it does is it allows the socket to not sit straight. It can sit straight, but it's not going to sit there very well. They do have a Wobble Plus where you can press it down and it will sit straight, and then you pop it up to allow it to wobble. But this is just the Wobble Extension where it just doesn't sit on there very well. And that comes in real handy when you're trying to get into a tight spot and you've just got to make a tiny little bank, to get to that bolt or something. And you just need a little bit of an angle. You just can't get quite on there right. And I use these all the time. So this has been very handy for me. Again, I use these quite a bit. Again, this is something I use all the time, but again, you could probably get by without them, is what I'm saying. But now that I do have them, man, I sure use them all the time. So that's something that you may want to consider looking into. These aren't recommendations. I'm not saying, hey, for you new guys that don't have any of these, go out and buy them. This is just a video to say, hey, look what I've got. Just to give you some ideas. If any of you want to go out and get them, great. If you say, hey, those are a waste of money, great. Good for you. I'm just showing you kind of some of the stuff that I use quite a bit. And these I use all the time. Wobble extensions. Next up, a blowgun with a super long tip on it. I use this all the time, especially in the summer season with you know, riding mowers, zero turns, bigger equipment. It's got a long nozzle on it so I can reach in and get into precise areas, you know, under the mower deck, into the engine bays, whatever, to get a lot of debris out, grass, leaves, whatever. I always send my machines out to my customers cleaned, you know, washed and cleaned. So first thing I'll do is I'll take this out and I'll blow under the mower deck, get all the leaves out of the pulleys and everything. And you can't quite do that with, you know, just one of the little handheld trigger ones. Just doesn't quite, I mean, it gets in there really well. You can blow the air in there, but this goes in there. You can put this right, you know, you get that much more reach. So this has been super helpful for me just to get the air precisely where I want it. And I like this tool a lot. Next up is a Cotter Pin Puller. You may think, well, why do you need that? You can get a screwdriver or a pick or a pair of pliers. True, you can. So why would you want this? It's got a super beefy head on it. The main reason I use these are for, you know, tractor pins. I work on tractors, or even the mower deck pins that are real stout, real tight. You know, on zero turns or lawn mowers, lawn tractors, on the mower decks when you have to remove them, they don't have much give to them, and they're in a tight spot, and they're usually up flat against, you know, some kind of bar or something. So there's not a lot of room. You can't get a pair of pliers in there or something. So you just push this on there and just pull it straight back, you know, up against that bar or whatever it is, up against the mower deck. And this thing doesn't budge, and it pops right off, and then it loops it so you don't drop it, doesn't fling, whatever. So I actually use this quite a bit as well. Again, I use these all the time. Now that I have them, I use them all the time. And if I lost any of this, I'd go out and buy it again, because I've gotten so accustomed to using it, I would go buy it again. So I say I use this all the time because these are now some of my most used tools. But this is very good to have for me. Now, some of you guys, I've heard, you know, various people, do you work on tires? A lot of people don't work on tires. So this is kind of up to you, but this is a valve stem puller. You put the valve stem through the hole, you screw this end onto it, you know, and then you put this edge on the rim wherever you go, and you pry it up to pop the valve stem onto the rim. I do quite a bit of tire work. I do all my own tire work for all my customers. And so this has been very handy for me. Makes pulling valve stems through the rim very quick, very easy, super painless, and very easy to do. So this is a great tool to have. This is something that I've used quite a bit, and it was a relatively cheap tool as well. None of this stuff is very expensive on this list, but all stuff that I use all the time. Next up, this was an interesting find, and it's not something that this is one tool that I don't use all the time. It was kind of one of those deals that I bought because I was curious, you know, how well it would work, how much I would use it. But when I have used it, man, nothing else has worked, and this has saved my bacon quite a few times. But they are spring pullers / pushers. So you put the spring inside this part right here where my finger is, and you pull it out. So when you pull it out, it doesn't go flying, or you can put the spring on this part and push it to pop it out of place, if that makes sense. So I've got two different sizes there, if you can see those. It's, you know, got a pretty long rod on it and then a handle. Again, 2 different sizes there. But these have come in really handy. I've used them, again, not quite as much as I expected. You've got to have the right application for it. But again, when I have used them, they have been super helpful to have. And again, they nothing else would have worked without these. And because of, you know, how tight they are and how small they are, they've been super helpful to have, and they work really well. They are a great tool to have around. Next up, you guys have probably seen these a lot, but they are called Vamp Pliers, made by Vampire Tools. They are bolt or screw extraction pliers. So you can see, let me see if I've got a bolt around here. These are the smaller ones, but you can see the bolt or screw kind of fits right inside of that head. These are kind of too big for it, but so you put it right inside that head, if you can see there, and it fits in there just perfectly. It bites right in there, and then you just spin it out. So it's just kind of an extraction tool, but with the teeth in there and how it's set up, it's just made to grab onto those bolts and screws and stuff and twist out of there. And I've used these on several occasions, and man, they are incredible. I was a little hesitant at first to know if they would actually work. I was like, you know, why wouldn't you just grab a regular pair of pliers? But you put a pair of pliers on there and they just slip. You know, they slip around the head, they slip off, or they bend it or whatever. Man, these bite onto there and they don't move unless you're spinning the actual bolt or fastener. And these are great. I don't use these all the time because I try not to break fasteners, but when you do need them, whether they come in broken or whether you do break something, these are super awesome to have. Good tool to have. So, last 3 tools on the list. They all kind of are in the same category, fuel related. And again, you don't need any of these, but I use these daily. I mean, almost everything I work on, 90% of what I work on is fuel related, carburetor issues, and that sort. Fuel pinch off pliers. I've got 2 different kind. I use these for 2 strokes. You know, they're a little bit smaller. They go on those little plastic, not plastic, not Tygon. Is that what it's called? Anyways, you put those on the fuel lines on the 2 strokes, pinch them down, and they just stay there. They're like self-locking. Super good to have. And then I've got 5 or 6 pairs of these. They go on the lawnmower fuel lines. Pinch them off, they just stay there. You know, a lot of guys use they use vice grips or locking pliers with pieces of hose over that, and that's fine. You know, you can do that, but these are just super nice to have. Just put it over. You don't have to worry about it marring the surface, pinching it off, going too tight, anything. These are made for that specific purpose. And they're nice to have. Like I said, I've got a whole bunch of them, so if I'm working on multiple machines, they've all got one on it. Now these, I found these and I use them for multiple purposes. They are hose clamp pliers. These specifically come from Mac Tools. I searched around and I found one other company on Amazon that sold them, but surprisingly they were actually cheaper through Mac. But what they do, they're pliers that have the grooves in them either on the side or the front to get the hose clamps. You know, on the fuel lines that are on the barb of the carburetor, you know, they typically have the 2 prongs sticking up top and then the 1 prong on down. You know, you put it in there and those teeth sit in that slot so it doesn't slip out. You know, you grab regular pliers or whatever and you go to move it or slide it up the fuel line and they'll slip out or they'll want to move on you. These don't let that go. So you can either do it like that, or you can do it sideways. You know, the head on it is a little bit big, so depending on where you're working, on mowers or snow blowers or something, it can be a little big. That's my only complaint about it. But working on radiator hoses, things of cars and tractors, the springs are a lot beefier. They're a lot more tension on them, and they're a lot bigger. These have been a lifesaver. Man, they bite on there. You don't have to worry about them popping open, anything like that. You just grab them, spring them closed, those teeth stay in those slots, and you just slide them up and down the hose wherever you need it to go, and that's it. I love those. I use these every day, every single day. And then last up on the list is hose removal pliers. You know, I used to use all sorts of different things to get those off. I would use a screwdriver to pry it. I would grab regular pliers and try to wiggle it off, and I would tear the hose. I would use the flat metal with the slot in it to kind of pry it off, and it just took time, and it took a lot of time. They would break, and if the hose was brittle, it would crack. There's lots of room for error there. So I picked these up. Actually, it's a set, so there's different sizes, but this is the size that I use most often for small engines. You just put it on the hose and you push or pull or whatever you need to do. I have not had a single problem since I started using these. And it's super fast. Put it on, pull the hose off, you're done. Super fast. So I like these a lot, and again, I use these almost every single day, and it's very quick, very handy to have, and no problems, no errors, no nothing. So that's my lineup, guys. Those are tools that I have collected that I use all the time. Again, you wouldn't see these in my box when I first started out. I wouldn't expect them to see them in your box if you're starting out. I wouldn't expect them to see if you're in your box if you're a hobbyist or just a DIYer. But just wanted to kind of show you some of the things that I use that help me out, help me be efficient. You know, time is money. So if we can do something just a little bit faster with a tool, you know, that you got to weigh your pros and cons. Obviously, if these tools cost me $1,000, that you got to weigh that, but they didn't. They're not, these tools right here that I just showed you didn't cost that much. So if you can pick up a tool for $5, $10 and it saves you, you know, a minute or two on every job, it's going to pay off in the long run. So that's kind of why I picked them up, is they save me a lot of time, a lot of frustration, a lot of you know, money and costly repairs when I'm breaking a hose or breaking a bolt or something. So that's why I picked them up. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it gives you some ideas or just some entertainment value. If you like this video, think about leaving me one of those thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And as always, make a choice to have a great day. Thanks for watching.